Start recording. All right, anytime you want now.
All right, what's up, you guys? Welcome to the 9th episode of the LightShare podcast. Today we have our guest, KRISTIAN NEE, and I'm accompanied by Adrian Virlan again and Pelaes, and me, obviously. And yeah, so that being said, we're gonna start the show. So KRISTIAN,
Yeah.
welcome, man.
Hey.
We're trying to keep this casual. So yeah, just like say
Nice to
anything
meet you, man.
at the top of your head.
Yeah,
And like we're just gonna kick it off.
Yeah.
So you want to talk a little bit about your background, like where you're from right now, or like what you're doing?
Well, I guess right now, the thing that I've been doing most recently is I've been working for Proco, and that's just like doing like instructor outreach. I've been talking to different instructors, different people that would teach online to potentially get them to do Proco videos. Again, for anybody that watches Proco, I introduced Stan to Scott Flanders, and most recently Taylor Olivis. The goal has been trying to help artists who don't necessarily have a platform for, I guess, creating a business from their own teaching, to help them through Proco try and try to make that process faster by having essentially a platform to go off instead of starting from scratch.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, so I guess I'm curious about. I know I've known Dom for years now, but I'm curious about Andre, Adrian. I have never met you guys. I looked you guys up on Instagram before, and I like your art quite a bit.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about your guys' background as well.
You can go first, Adrian. Go ahead.
Okay. So, well, I'm a concept artist. I recently launched a new course, by the way. Shameless plug here. Yeah, I'm working on my own project since like a couple of years ago. I'm trying to develop the story and the world building aspects of it and everything. And well, I guess I enjoy a lot the fantasy side of design, like the more organic forms and shapes and stuff like that. And I try to keep up with my social media as best as I can. I made a YouTube channel like 3 years ago, which I haven't been really consistent with, but I'm starting to get a tighter grip on it recently. And well, then we met these two amazing dudes right here that I kind of agreed to create this podcast with. Like we realized that after like various calls that we had together, a lot of conversations we were having, we thought maybe this could be something that could be shared out there, and not be kept only between us, because we ended up always like touching different subjects, getting pretty deep in certain things that we thought might be interesting to hear from someone else. And this is how we ended up here. So, yeah. So, then, of course, Andre, I met him like long ago on Instagram, and he is an amazing vehicle artist, and I guess you can take it from here if you want, Andre.
Yeah, I'll take the amazing part off, but I'm André. I'm from Brazil, and I've been like pursuing this art career for the past 5 years or so. Like I'm really focused on vehicles, but in the beginning it was not quite like that. And recently I've been able to work on some cool projects as well. The career kind of started get big about a year and a half or so ago. And well, basically you can learn everything that I did through Instagram, because that's my main platform of like sharing my work and everything. And you can like scroll back to my like first drawings that I ever did while I pursued this career. So there's not much else to say, like I'm just another artist out there, and I had the pleasure to meet these two guys, and
so humble.
Like, honestly, yeah. No, man. Honestly, like this podcast has been so big, like for me personally, the fact that you can bring different people on and like talk about a lot of subjects that I don't usually see in our the art world. The communities, they don't tend to share this more personal kind of like how life actually works side of
Right.
things.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's also like my first. I guess I saw your Instagram like when we first thought about having you here, but I know basically nothing about what you do.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to, because you said that you were the contact between Proko and these new instructors on the platform that he's kind of building.
Right.
And I want to know, like, how did you end up there? Or, like, what brought you to this position?
Well, so I guess I kind of sought it out. I was introduced to Stan by Marshall Vandruff. I don't know if you guys know him. He's an instructor in Southern California.
Yeah.
I guess they taught at Fullerton, LCAD, and everything. I had heard from tons of people independently of each other that Marshall Vandruff is an instructor that you have to take classes from. Like 15 or 16 different people. Like literally, they would all tell me Marshall Vandruff is the best. So I decided to take a class with him in Southern California. I stayed afterwards. I made a point to try and stay after and talk to him. We went on a walk together, and then over time we just started becoming friends. And I introduced him to a bunch of people, and then he eventually introduced me to Stan. I was really fascinated with how Proko became a business. I went to the Watts Atelier for a couple of years, and I was studying to be an illustrator, a concept artist. And, I was like, I wanted to work as somebody who makes images for a living. After being there for a couple of years, I kind of realized that it's not the lifestyle that I hoped it would be. It's a lot of work. You don't get paid that much. It's very competitive. People don't really treat artists that well from what I've seen in the industry. And I was pretty amazed with how Stan had taken this very niche skill set that, it's like academic figure drawing, right? It's something that it's like historically has not made much money for a lot of people, except, maybe a couple of people that sell paintings for $1,000. And Stan has been able to build this massive business, massive following by teaching something that is pretty, it's pretty niche, and I wanted to figure out on how I could do that. So I approached Stan and asked to work for him for free. I worked for him for free for like 3 months, just like trying to be a fly on the wall to understand on how do you go from having like, essentially what we're doing right now, like we're like just, people trying to do something creative, and then going from this to having like 2 million subscribers on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I was just fascinated with how does somebody actually become successful online.
Yeah.
And then over time, I just became, he started trusting me more, and over the past year and a half, becoming a bigger part of the business.
Yeah. I think we kind of talked more about, the side of creating your own brand and branching away from the typical normal industry that most people would want to go out when they start off. And, I think we talked about like finding your own voice over time and how creating your own brand might lead to more fulfillment for some people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, so I think the thing that you guys are doing right now is really smart. I don't know. I see a lot of people online that are trying to make their following just by creating images, which is really, really hard. Because you're competing against people that are probably like way better than you, that spend way more time doing it, and been doing it for longer. They're, I don't know, like but that's all they're doing. They're just making images. And at the end of the day, if you're only making images, you're only going to be hired by companies. I know plenty of really famous artists that their best work is owned by the companies that they work for. Essentially, their life's work. Their life, they spent 10 years making images for, I don't know, Riot or EA or any of these companies, and they actually can't share it because it's under NDA.
No wonder
Yeah.
why there's so many personal projects coming out, nowadays.
Yeah.
Because people
Well,
are
but-
not able to show what they've been working on. So
Right.
what do? You have to show something, you have to share something. So they end up creating their own projects, which I'm extremely sure is not entirely motivated by that reason, but
Yeah.
mostly because of this need we have to kind of manifest our thoughts and our creativity, put it out there in some form that we have control over, which I guess it's our case right here. But I really appreciate the kind words, man. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, again, it's like you're doing exactly the right thing. I don't know. I'm a big fan of the Joe Rogan podcast. It's very controversial. It's like I'm a fan of certain episodes. I'm not a fan of others. But I'm a fan of how it started. More so. It's like he was just in his room interviewing people he liked. Right. It started exactly the way this worked. Whether you're a fan of him or not, it's literally the biggest podcast of all time. He's like, I think he gets like 50, 60 million downloads a month, or per episode. And it's like he's literally the most successful interviewer of all time.
It's crazy.
Like more than Jimmy Fallon or Conan O'Brien or anybody.
And it's pretty crazy how relatively fast he grew, because I remember watching his stuff when he was like slightly above 1 million, I think. And now he's like, what, at 8 millions or 10 or some crazy shit like that?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
And that's just on YouTube. Like, there's Apple Podcasts and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a really small... Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I guess the point that he made like clear is that you don't need to be exactly ready or have everything be perfect in order to start what you want to do, right? Yes, it's a big thing that it...
Exactly. I like these stories, where they start small and you kind of see the whole process, the whole evolution process, how they evolve, how they grow in time. And it slowly starts to... This is, I think, what Gary Vee talks about a lot of times, like you just start, you do whatever you feel like doing and you don't worry about the numbers or anything like that. I think like Dom also shared something like that on his Instagram lately. And that's so cool, right? It's the right mentality, like to approach this from a personal desire to become better, to improve yourself, and then the rest is like a consequence of that effort, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like the waterfall of all that stuff that you've been doing. The projects that you start out with, like not everyone's gonna know what it is in the beginning until you put in the work over the years and bring it to like a final product. Then people will, like, that's what he was doing the whole time. And it's No, go ahead.
The whole hypothesis is like, if you're a person with taste, there are probably other people with that exact taste, no matter how niche it is. And especially if you're an artist working in the industry, like, let's say you're like a splash artist at Riot, right? If you do a splash art, you do a piece of splash art for a skin that sells $100 million worth of skins, right? And your piece of splash art is responsible for selling, 5% or 10% more skins, right? 5 or 10% of $100 million is $5 to $10 million. And that splash artist is only probably being paid $100,000 or $200,000 a year, right? The whole hypothesis is if you could generate $5 or $10 million in value per piece of art for a company, you could at least generate, maybe 100,000 to 200,000 per piece for yourself, and it's like that's not an unreasonable, like, that, like, the statistic that,
That's crazy, man. I
right?
never thought about it that way.
Well, and that's totally true. Like those people who, like if you're designing lightsabers for Star Wars, right? It's like you might design a lightsaber that makes Star Wars 5% cooler, right? And if 5%, if something sells 5% more, whatever, because of, like, 5% of $1 billion is $50 million, right? So
I'm not aware if there are any bonuses like that out there. Like, it
there
must
are,
be always like
hundreds of thousands. It's not. I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's not like, you're not able to.
Okay.
Like I don't know if you're, I don't know if you're a concept artist on Star Wars, you still have a mortgage, probably.
Yeah.
You still have to pay your bills. And like, and especially you guys as, talented artists, it's like, you can make stuff that people like for sure. That's not the problem. It's actually putting it in front of people.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
The book,
the marketing side.
It's like, you actually have the hardest part finished. It's like good quality work, right? The book that Stan told me, it's actually a Gary Vee book. It's jab, 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 right hook.
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah. This is the book that Stan based his entire business off of, actually. The entire hypothesis of this book is that there are like 300 million people being introduced to the internet every year. And the idea that you can't, get a couple of them, a few thousand to be on board with who you are as like an individual, then, you're probably stupid. I don't know. It's like a, I don't mean to sound mean, but it's like, there are so many opportunities for, if you're doing it right, I shouldn't say everything. There's a way to do it incorrectly.
Like it's already out there, and if you don't get it, it's up to you to get it,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the vibe I'm getting.
Right? Yeah. And the thing that I've seen is it's more of a decision to pursue success, to like ask for it instead of like waiting for it to come to you.
Right. I like.
And again,
that.
like you guys are doing exactly the right thing, starting this podcast.
Thank you so much.
You may say this, but I'm not aware of what's right or what's wrong, So I kind of wanted to hear because what I feel like is that you have this very business-oriented mindset, right? And I kind of just want to let you talk like what comes to your head, because there's so many little insights on what you're saying. And it's a very different view from what you see out there, right? Of like, you got to be artists for personal satisfaction, and because the work itself is fulfilling.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's a dissonance between like people getting work and working in the industry, right? Which is like, personally for me, it's very fulfilling to work for companies, at least for at this point in my life, right?
Yeah.
And there's this other side of personal projects, and you see basically every artist out there have their small personal project that they say it's fulfilling for them. And how to jump from this being your actual like source of income, how would you approach that kind of situation where you still have to do the day job? Because it's just like you said, like you have bills, and even though the value that you generate for the company it's big, you will not get a decent share of that. So you'll still have to make your own, right? Like you're still having to work.
Well, I honestly, I think that's the way it has to work. Honestly, like, obviously not every artist can be paid $10 million a year to images. That's just like, there are too many artists, right? Too many.
There's a lot.
And the thing that I ask a lot of people is like, would you be doing exactly what you're doing right now and get $1 billion? Right? Like, and I don't like need you guys to answer this right this second, but do you think you'd still be recording this podcast if you had $1 billion? And the answer is yes, right? That means there's something that you get from this podcast that is literally priceless. And
I literally ask myself that question a lot of times. It's
every
like,
day, right?
if it wasn't about
the mic and your camera, but
like if it wasn't about the money, would you still be doing what you do? Right?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Question.
You have all the money in the world, right? Would you still be doing it? That's the question. That's a nice one to ask yourself every day. And
seriously.
It's really important to also see where that answer is coming from. Like, is it just to satisfy your ego, like to just feel that push to say yes, this is it, I want to keep doing this? Or is it truly it, like, I think there's only one way to notice that. It's like a personal perception kind of thing, like only you know it,
Right. Yeah. Well, and I really believe that the path to success is completely subjective, based on your own your own values. It's completely nonlinear. My version of success is completely different from your guys' version. I actually don't really care personally about being like a working artist. I really like. I found that the work that I actually like making is stuff that people wouldn't pay me money for, and I actually don't want to be paid money for it. And it's like that. That might be completely different from somebody else, or it might be very similar, But I think it's important not to compromise with your vision of what your success looks like in order to appease other people. It's really important to keep your own personal vision, because otherwise, it's like, what are you doing this for? Yeah. Like, if you wanted to make money, like if you're an artist just to make money, you should just be a plumber or an electrician or a lawyer, because it's a lot easier to do those jobs to make money than to, make tanks, or draw pictures of orcs or something.
Yeah, I really think it has a personal meaning to each individual, what does it mean to you to be successful? I think we would all have like a different answer,
Right.
And that's entirely fine. I think that's the way it's meant to be as well.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important not to compare yourself to other people, because there's always somebody, exactly. I've been getting into cyclotouring recently. Like, I've been really into people, like I rode my bike from Boston to New York recently, and then
dude, I've been checking your website, and that's what I saw. Yeah. I was like, holy shit, what? This guy went from coast to coast as well, right?
No, I didn't do that. I want to do something like that at some point.
I saw the map on your website.
I drove there. I drove that distance.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. But it's still crazy. That's something we all want to do at least once in our lifetimes. But I was like trying to see how long it was from Boston to New York, you said, right?
Yeah.
And
it's about 260 miles or so.
I actually saw parts of the video you posted about it. You made like a time-lapse video of that. Yeah. Pretty crazy, dude.
And
wow.
Christian went like around the whole country.
Yeah. So I put like 13,000 miles on my car. And I was like,
you drove the whole United States.
Yeah. I was sleeping in Walmart parking lots. I was like, I don't know. It was such an adventure. It's so cool. But I guess the reason I bring that up is...
Sorry. No, I was just going to say that was very inspiring to see, like, when you said something like you pushed yourself out of your comfort zone. You wanted to travel, but you were kind of afraid of what might happen to you or something like that. And then one day you said, screw it. I'm just going to do the craziest thing ever. And you went across the United States. Yeah.
And, well, the thing is it's like, I chose the craziest thing I thought I could do, and I survived. It's like I'd never slept anywhere besides my house, and I was like, I'm gonna go sleep in a Walmart parking lot, and I did. There were like creepy people outside, and it was like in the middle of nowhere, middle of Tennessee, or middle of Nebraska.
What was the experience like? Like
it was I don't know.
What did it feel like to sleep out there?
It was
in the uncertainty.
It was pretty liberating, actually. I don't know. I think I subconsciously had this idea that to sleep in my car means that I've failed in some significant way. Like I've, been fired from my job. I've been evicted. I've been, whatever. So I'm a loser for sleeping in my car or something.
Were you able to actually sleep? Like to
I
get some quality?
Ish. Yeah? Well, my Camry is like it's like I had to curl up in a ball.
Yeah, because I have this. I've heard that when we sleep out of our, home, like it's not your usual place to sleep. Our brains tend to stay like half awake. It's the state of alert in case something happens, which many animals always have. But since we kind of became like we have our own houses, we always sleep in the same place, we're protected, we no longer have to do that anymore. But I just wonder if that's what happened to you. Like, that's why I asked the quality sleep kind of thing, because I was imagining you were kind of trying to sleep, but at the same time, like trying to be aware of what's going on outside, and just in case someone comes nearby, or I think every sound becomes like more becomes louder.
It's scary. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was definitely the case for a while. People would walk past my car, people would have conversations. But the part that was most liberating about it was like, I found that I would rather sleep in my car than have a corporate job that I hate. You know, like I would rather be in my. If I had to sleep in my car to survive, it's a sacrifice I'd rather make than being paid a whole bunch of money, be working 12 hours a day and dealing with people I don't want. And there's liberating in that sense. You know, it's like it wouldn't be that much of a sacrifice in order to have peace of mind. You know? And to actually have like the freedom of my time is so much more valuable than being paid tons of money and not having freedom over my time.
Working on something you're not passionate about.
Yeah, or dealing with people that aren't treating me well, or taking advantage of me.
And because that can happen a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes in certain workplaces, like there's like a lot of that office politics, or like some, I don't know, just like I just hear stories sometimes of like people being treated not very well, and you need to find the right people to work with, stuff.
Well, it's super. I think it's way more common than people think it is. Like, being in a cubicle under fluorescent lights, and have you guys ever seen the movie Office Space?
No.
I think it's one of the greatest movies of all time. It's a comedy by the guy who made King of the Hill, Mike Judge, where it's about this kid. He's like 24, 25, like our age, right? Who he works at this bank company, and his entire job is to go through like 50 million lines of code and add a 20 in front of like for the so in the 2000s there was a bank switch where instead of the dates being 20 something, they were just 95, 90 whatever to save time. So he had to go through all those lines of code and just make it 2000s instead of the 1900s. And his bosses are horrible. They're asking him to come in on weekends all the time. They tell him to stay late. And, it's about him just he stops giving a shit and just like stops showing up to work. And I would highly recommend it. It's hard to describe, but
definitely
it's
check
like
it
office
out.
politics, right? It's like a
something like
I found that like go ahead.
No, finish.
Yeah, I found that if the work itself is not the most fulfilling thing, the people around you, like they make a lot of it. Like it's way better to have good relationships and do a work that you're not like that passionate about, than do something that like you started out loving it, and then you just like after 2 months you hate it because of the people that surround you.
Yeah.
So I would advise people, like if they have to work somewhere, like find people that you really like, and the work that will come out of that will be way more enjoyable. Because I cannot expect. I mean, it's very inspiring to hear you say that like for you'd rather sleep in a car and do that sacrifice instead of sacrificing like your soul for. And I guess like for the four of us, it will be the same case, right? But I can't ask that from everyone.
Well, that goes back to like subjective meanings of success. It's like, maybe that's something you just don't want to do. But the point of like the entire point of it is, that's an extreme, like sleeping in your car. But you could definitely like, reduce your overhead. Like
I guess like it's stopping thinking what's really valuable to you, right?
Yeah,
and be aware of that.
Well, and you might be at a job for the status, and if you're working at a company and you're being paid $100,000 or $200,000 a year, and your boss calls you and tells you to come in during the weekends, you have no choice but to do it. Otherwise, you're going to get fired. And you especially have no choice if you have a huge mortgage and you're living paycheck to paycheck because your overhead is so high.
That's hard. Yeah.
And that happens all the time. There are people like I've heard stories of people like leaders of these massive companies, billion-dollar companies saying one of their employees, one of their VPs, one of their executives buys an expensive house, and then they say, we own that person now because they have no choice but to keep working here because they have to.
Shit.
Yeah, and that actually exists,
Yeah. That's the dark
really scary,
side of
right?
this.
Yeah. and that's that's what I'm talking about when I
Because
say
you,
it's like
you,
I'd
you
rather
technically
see
have no more freedom in that position, you know?
well, it's kind of like, well, imagine the case where it's like you go to Art Center and you get your $200,000 in debt, but you don't have a house, you know, you have school debt, right? And it's like you're pretty much an indentured servant at that point. Like you paid money to get to the new land, right? Which is what indentured servants do, and you have to pay off your debt in order to become a citizen. You know? And
That's the realities.
That's pretty crazy. I find it extremely inspiring and motivating, and you know, to make that choice that you're talking about. Like, I'd rather do this before I work on a job that I hate or something like that, you know, some corporate thing that prevents me from, you know, growing at a personal or professional level outside of the job itself. I really like that, and I'm 100% on your side on that. But I kind of see that that's really hard to do, especially if you're in a situation like the one you just described, you know, like a $1 billion company technically owning you, you know, saying, no, you can't.
All the stuff that you create and
yeah,
else.
that's ours. You know?
Oh yeah. Like,
it's ours.
If you work at Disney, right, you have to sign a contract where everything you make while you're working at Disney is owned by Disney, even your personal project. That's actually true. I have friends who work there, and everything that they create, if they were to make stuff, is owned by Disney. And it's like, the point of that is to make sure you never leave. You know?
Yeah.
Like you get addicted to the tape, like you get the golden handcuffs, right? You can't leave because your overhead is so high. You know?
That's what I was going to say. Like, they make it like in a nice way, right? It's a very subtle way. But don't get me wrong. I don't think that's we're kind of making villainizing here that thing, you know, like it's a bad life, don't do that, blah blah blah. I'm pretty sure you can earn a lot of money, you can make a decent life working
absolutely.
like that, if you don't have like something like what I just described earlier, like other aspirations, you know, other goals outside of this the company you're working for, which in the case that they prevent you from reaching those goals, then that becomes like a deep problem for you, you know? And that's kind of sad, because you will then be like in this situation or this place in which you will have no power over that. You'll have no control over that, you know? There's nothing you can do to escape that. You're already like with the handcuffs, as you said, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to look at it as what it actually is. You're a mercenary for hire, and you're providing a service. They don't owe anything to you because you weren't there. You know, you're not part of the mafia of that company.
All that matters is the contract, you know?
Well, yeah, and it's like they will cut you. You know, seriously, like, and there are people like they actually like. I'm not diminishing the value of working at those companies. I might work at those companies at one point in my life, but I think it's important to see it for what it is. It's a job, and you're there to provide a service. And the second it becomes financially negative to keep you on, they will let you go, even if you made that company tens of millions of dollars. You know, it's kind of like, I mean, the thing about the right thing I was saying earlier is it's really hard to make splash artists money on your own because it takes so much time to make those images. It's hard to like market and make those images and, you know, live your life, you know. It's almost impossible. So
Just heard a lot of people not being able to see their families at some point. It's like, I remember that whole like Naughty Dog thing that surfaced where you know they had to stay overtime and they're keeping them in shackles and they couldn't see their families.
The crunch culture.
The crunch,
right?
Big crunch.
I've heard stuff like that from CD Projekt, right, as well.
Yeah, and again, it's just part of the deal. Like that's kind of what you know, it's like when you're an 18-year-old in high school and, you know, the Marine recruiter comes up to you and says, war is going to be awesome. It's going to be so cool. You're going to be a hero. You know, that, you know, when you sign that form, it's like, that's actually, you're signing up to murder people or to be murdered, you know, or to run 10 miles a day, and that's actually what you're signing up for.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a certain naivete where it's like that's just part of the deal. It's they don't tell you necessarily, because like working as an animator at Disney is this really prestigious thing to a lot of people.
I guess that's what happens when you're young and hungry,
Yeah. Well, and they're taking advantage of that. It's like the reality of the art skills is they're becoming a lot more available. They're pretty common.
People are,
yeah.
They're looking for really like those bright-eyed artists who are just down to do anything. So, sometimes they'll just take that really hungry artist and then use them for
burn them out, right? Well, and the way it's working now is like, so in comics, somebody like in comic books, they will sell a certain amount of Spider-Man issues per month because they know that there are a certain amount of Spider-Man issues or Spider-Man fans in the world that will buy comic books, right? And the thing that they want are artists with their own following, so they can add to that set amount. It doesn't really matter if the artist is good. They want to add. They want to bring people into comics, right? They want to bring people that are going to become new fans. And if there's an artist that people really like that don't really read comics, but they're going to buy that issue because they really like that artist, it's like they're adding value that wasn't there. Like Spider-Man is always going to sell a certain amount of issues, but an artist might sell 10% more, 20% more issues than another person. That's what companies are looking for now, is people that could, I guess, in relation to like making barrels and designing pockets and all that kind of stuff. That's like seen as like the grunt work of games and all that kind of stuff. Which I'm not diminishing the value of that. But, like it has to be done, and I really like. I think it's important to the projects. But,
yeah,
because I think like nowadays, pretty much anybody can start their own thing. Like all the smaller indie studios were just normal people, like wanting to make a studio,
Yeah. Well,
I guess before in the past, like that was not really something that a lot of people would do. They would just go to the corporate companies, but not think of making indie studios. Now there's like tons of indie studios popping up everywhere.
Well, and honestly, there's no difference between us and giant corporations. Seriously, we're selling to the same people. Like if you're making books, if you're telling stories, you're just selling to the same people, but on a different scale. Like, EA might have $500 million in marketing budget per project, and you have like $1,000 per year. But you're trying to sell to the same people. So the goal is to like. I don't know, like a lot of people that might buy your book, Dom, also they might buy Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't ever think that you're different from the corporations. You're trying to sell stuff to people, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to tell stories, and they're actually probably pretty similar to the stories of Assassin's Creed. It's like the hero's journey. Protagonists, like cool guys with swords, cool guys with guns and tanks, and
technically like the same essence or structure.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not from EA or from Ubisoft. It's from you. The
from
one
you, right?
they follow. Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and the great thing about that is it's your specific idea of what that is, right? Which is like Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty, their goal is to appeal to as many people as possible. Like as many young 19-year-old boys, it's like they want to get as many of those kids to, so they're not going to be as risky. They're not going to be as, they're going to try and be as mass market as possible. But you can really hone in on a specific group of people and be like, this is the thing I really like, so let's make this thing specifically for these 100,000 people. And it's like there probably isn't like a Call of Duty. This is just off the top of my head, like a Call of Duty with unicorns and I don't know, based off like Egyptian.
Yeah.
You know, like you go down a list of arbitrary attributes. You know, and it's like you can make that thing for that specific person who wants that thing, and not Call of Duty. You know.
Yeah. Customized.
Yeah.
on demand.
Well, and that's what I was saying about Proko in the beginning. Is like if you look at figure drawing, it's actually pretty boring. You know, it's like you're drawing people. You're like in your figure drawing, you're recording something. You know, you're recording a head, recording an arm, recording a torso. You know, it's like the goal is for somebody to look at that piece and be like, that is what that person saw. You know, that's an arm.
Yeah.
But he's been able to make this pretty massive thing just from that, right? Something that he found really meaningful. Yeah, drawings on paper. Right? It's not that sexy, and it's like the art that you guys are. It's inherently has a lot more like, substance, right? It's like you're telling stories. You know, you're designing creatures. You're doing all this other stuff that people will probably find more interesting. You know.
Yeah.
The only
I
thing
truly sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I truly feel like there's a time and a place for everyone in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like Ashley Wood can exist, and so can Jim Lee, and so can James Bake.
Guys, by the way, I was going to ask, do you see his camera kind of lagging? Because I see like, I'm not sure if it's only me.
Oh yeah.
He has like he's on like 10 FPS or something. Yeah. Maybe you can restart the camera and that's it.
Okay.
See if that fixes the problem.
Yeah. Like honestly, I'm staying quiet all the time. There's so much going on in my head like right now about what you guys are talking, you know, because it's everything to me. I don't. Of course, that we don't support companies that take advantage of people, right? Like that's a stupid thing, and in my opinion, the more that we get rid of that kind of person that wants to take advantage, it's the better it is.
Well, the more responsibility you take. You're rewarded based on how much responsibility you take for yourself. It's like, actually, I think working for those companies is pretty nice. You get to make a couple $100,000 a year. You're not super rich. Like if you don't need a lot of money and you like drawing pictures all day, then that's totally okay.
Yeah.
Plenty of people make a pretty comfortable living off that.
That always tends to boil down to it's business, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just an exchange of services, of values, I would say. But now, are those values balanced? Like, is that exchange just, you know?
Yeah, and
is
I
it
don't want to
fair?
sound like a devil's advocate, you know? Like, that's not it. I don't hope that people will get, like, personal value out of that. But if you approach it with the right mindset, that's work, I think it's fine, you know? Like, I don't want to sound like I'm against that kind of thing, because at the end of the day, if you work on a big project, you didn't get only the money out of that, you know? Like the fact that you got to put your name on a big
connections,
project, that adds value to you as an artist as well, and that may help you to like push some personal project out there.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, and there's so many different, like there's social currency. You know, it's like you might have been paid $30,000 to do this project, but that project is huge, and you could use that credibility to go and start something that becomes a Netflix show. You know?
Yeah, what I mean is like you just see things as pathways to success. You know, it's what success means to you.
Well, and I think
it's a good another perspective.
Well, the entire I think again the path to success is completely non-linear. Like Stan started without any credibility at all, and there are plenty of people that did. And it depends on case to case. The thing that I really firmly believe in is not comparing yourself to other people. Your path is so unique to you that you can't even if people are doing the same exact kind of art, they probably have completely different backgrounds. They're probably completely different as people. And the reason I brought up the bike touring stuff in the beginning is I rode from New York or Boston to New York, which is like 250 miles. It sounds like a lot, but then there are people that have ridden their bikes all around the planet. And it's like, if I were to look at like that kind of trip and be like, oh, I shouldn't do those kind of things, it's pointless, then it's like, that's stupid. That's not how it works. Like I'm still pretty proud of that, in spite of people like.
It's what
Like
they mean
there's
to
this guy
you.
named. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's completely. There's this guy named Mark Beaumont who he has the world record for around the world on a bike. He did it in 80 days, and he was doing 240 miles a day for 80 days.
240?
240 miles a day for 80 days. Crazy.
Need
It's
new,
insanity.
or new knees after that.
Not impressed.
And it's
Holy
like
shit.
that's like my Boston. I did 250 miles or 260 in like 4 days. And it's like,
Whoa.
Bro.
yeah,
That's,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah. I just want people to see this, and that this opens their minds, instead of closing them. And like, if there's someone out there that thinks that they want to work on a company, don't feel bad for that. Maybe that's your pathway to success.
Oh yeah.
And if like,
I also had,
to me it's okay. Go ahead, man.
No, I was just gonna say that I also had this sensation that we were kind of villainizing this, like making them look bad or something, which it's kind of like a black and white situation, I guess, with a lot of grays in the middle. But I think what we are talking here about is eventually like the creative freedom, of growth within like a company and outside of it. That's all I think.
Well,
Sorry for
That's what
interrupting
I'm
you.
getting a lot as well. Like I'm learning a lot about like how to think more about the personal stuff, and it seems like there's a lot of opportunities that I didn't quite see or I didn't thought were feasible. Like how you were saying that anyone has reach or access at least to the public. That's something that, despite the fact that of course that we know it, we all live with YouTube and all social media, right? So the contact point is there, but I didn't like saw it like that in that way. Like in my mind, it was always like get access to the public through some other like either a company or other means, right?
Yeah.
And it's been really eye-opening, this conversation, to start like opening my mind to these other opportunities. But it's hard to shift your mindset so hard in such a small amount of time, So
I think
it's
the
kind of
tricky thing
shattering
is
a
to
few concepts. Yeah,
use it to your
it's weird.
advantage.
That's why,
That's
Yeah.
really the big deal there.
I think
Well,
it's
so
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, it's meant to be an open conversation about like the different facets of, working for what or
Yeah, please don't get me wrong. Like I'm not saying that you should not think about it, kind of thing. I'm just trying to get it through my mind. Like.
Well, I think it's so. I was talking to Scott Flanders. I don't know if you guys know him, but I know Dom was one of his teachers.
yeah, who's my
Shape
instructor.
Carver.
Yeah,
I was
Shape
talking to Shape Carver. I was talking to Scott about his time at Riot. So his career is he started at Turtle Rock, was there for a few years, worked on Evolve, and then eventually was hired at Riot. And he said his time at Riot was like his second attempt at university. He went there to go and be around lots of artists and to be paid money to be at art school, where he's learning about all this stuff from all these other people. To get stuff under his belt to become a better artist, to get his life together too, to like have a house, to not worry about money. And I think it's like that's perfectly okay. That's perfectly like the entire thing that I want to like emulate in my life is that you can do literally whatever you want. Like there are people that are making way more money than we'll ever make playing Minecraft. And it's like it's not about the money, but it's like like even if you look, like somebody built the pyramids, like somebody built the Eiffel Tower, somebody, like in the cities that you're in right now, somebody built the cities, like people built the cities that you're in,
But for some reason, we tend to believe and accept that that's not us. We will never be able to do anything like that, right? And I'm not talking about those examples exactly, right? But of something that seems like impressive and successful and amazing, right? That's not me, man. I can't do that. I'm nobody,
that's that's the biggest issue I found. It's like it's not about what other people are doing. It's about how you feel about yourself. That's actually the biggest battle for everybody. Whether you're the biggest concept artist on the planet right now, or you're just starting art school. You're 14 years old and you're in the middle of Indiana. It's like it's about how you feel about yourself and how, like, I was talking to one of my mentors a while ago. He's a guy that's his net worth is he's a wealthy guy. Has $20 million net worth. He was saying it takes as much work to start a restaurant as $100 million company. Like, literally, and I'm not joking. Like, if you know people that have started restaurants, you have to work really, really, really hard. I'm trying not to cuss.
Yeah. It's all right.
You have to work, 12 hours a day. It's like if you've been around new restaurants, they're on their feet all the time. They're there 12 hours a day or longer. It's really risky, and they might have to do that for a few years before the restaurant starts to take,
Takes off.
starts to actually gain traction. And that's any restaurant. That's not a super successful restaurant. So it's the thing he was saying is like, always like go for bigger than you think you can, because it's going to take as much work as if you go for smaller. Which is true. That's actually, that's what I've seen from everybody I've ever talked to.
It's like entrepreneurship.
Yeah, just like, if you're gonna run 10 miles, you might as well try and run a marathon. It's still hard. It's and it's like the point of those trips that I'm doing. It's like they're actually, it's not like it's completely selfish. It's more of like trying to prove to myself that I can do it. Like, I don't consider myself like a super athletic person. Before this year, the furthest I've ever ridden, like, I started cycling in February, and the furthest I'd ever ridden on a bike was like 2 or 3 miles. And I started in February and then just slowly built up and went from doing like 12 miles. And the furthest I've gone on a bike in a day is 110 miles. It was like 12 to like 20 to like 30 to 60. And it was like the entire point of it was like finding something that's really hard and doing it. And it other people might listening to this might think that that's actually really easy, but it's my own version of difficult. And it's going to keep getting more and more difficult as, I guess, as I become more comfortable with that kind of.
Yeah.
But the reality is like, I'm not that physically different from what I was a year ago. It was more of my mindset on like cycling 100 miles. It's like I could do that, and I could probably do 200 miles if I really wanted to put myself through a lot of pain.
I think it's like the tenacity of pushing through like what you want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the whole book project that I was doing too. 3 years in the making. Like, I could have quit any time. It's
Right.
like, how much do you want that thing to like to accomplish it?
Well, and it's more of like a symbolic meaning to yourself, right? It's like it's not a project that's going to make you financially set for the rest of your life, but it's like a it's your own personal milestone.
I think it's like a psychological trick that kind of spills onto other areas of your life somehow. This is deeply, I see this a lot in like physical improvement, sports and stuff like that. You tend to become, I don't know how should I say this, like more disciplined perhaps in other areas of your life, like for instance, if you struggle to maintain like a habit on something unrelated to fitness or training, physical training. And I think, I don't know, I'm just speaking from my own experience here because that worked for me, to kind of have those challenges on myself. And then slightly make this progress onto other stuff. Like, for instance, I want to read every day, and I want to read a certain number of pages, right? And I don't always find I'm not going to say the motivation, but the discipline, to build up that habit. And since I've done worse things to myself, right? Like putting yourself through this tough physical situation and stress, where your body is like going over the limits, you end up feeling like you've achieved something, And to other people, that might seem meaningless, like it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why would you do that to yourself? And you're like, this has a meaning for me, I'm doing this for something else. I'm training for other stuff, not only for this. That's like only a superficial level, right? That you're witnessing here. Shit goes way deeper here.
It's like they go through the same experiences you are. They'll never actually feel the full force of what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Like to us, it's like, damn, this is too much. Like, it's too crazy. Like, I've burned out. I'm so stressed out. And people from the outside, they look in, they're like, oh, that's easy.
Well, it's completely relative. Seriously, like, I don't know. Like somebody's adventure today might be going, walking to the end of the block. That might be like a huge step for them as an individual. Or maybe like, for me, going and riding 100 miles is a big deal for me, but for somebody else, that's like the achievement of a lifetime, or like them riding 10 miles is a huge achievement, And it's like, and I'm not, it still is. Like, I'm not diminishing, like, it's still a huge deal for them to do that. And it's impressive too. It's like, there's an ultra marathon runner I was following for a while. Her name is Courtney Dauwalter. And she ran the Moab 240 like 10 hours faster than everybody else. So she finished, and then 10 hours later, people started coming in. So she was like way ahead of the pack.
Dude, what's the name of this athlete?
Courtney Dauwalter.
Dude, I saw that documentary video. That was insane, bro.
It's crazy, right?
Holy crazy. Shit! Yes, it was.
Yeah, man, so for people who don't know,
it makes you feel like willing to get out there and start running immediately.
Absolutely, man.
I want to do that now. It's impressive, dude. 240 miles is like unconceivable for me. Like
San Diego to LA, right?
yeah. And like, how long did they have? Like 3 days or 2 days? I forgot.
5 days, I think.
5 days? Okay.
Well, she finished it way faster than everybody else, and like she finished first, right? She did in 50 something hours, and then the next person did 60. But then, like 2 days after she finished, people were still coming in.
But the thing is that she got to sleep for. I remember this moment because it was really impactful for me. Like, she said she could no longer. She would enter this kind of almost sleep state while she was running, right? She said, I'm going to take a nap. And she just dropped on the floor right there in the middle of the road or whatever the trail was. And she just flat down on the ground. She took like a 1 minute nap or something like that. And she said she was like insanely awakened afterwards. Like, hell this is like my whole batteries are recharged right now. 1 minute. 1 freaking minute, dude. That was impressive.
Well,
what a beast.
I remember she was saying that like after she finished, she was way more impressed with the people that were last. Because like, it's one thing to finish first, but it's like those people were out in the middle of the desert running for like a week, They had to travel 240 miles by foot, and she was saying she was way more impressed by that than people that. I mean, obviously it's impressive to finish really quick, but she was still impressed by those people. It's like to run 240 miles. That's freaking huge. That's like running a marathon is huge. So running 20 times that's crazy.
Crazy, extremely crazy.
and it's like, I don't know. It's like. Your experience is still, it's completely relative to you, and it doesn't like, again, it's like your version of difficult is still difficult to you. It doesn't diminish the value.
Right.
Somebody who's doing 240 miles. Running a mile is like, that's still hard for a lot of people. And I'm not, No, it's
I feel like these big goals are like, you know, when it comes down to go big or go home, right? You have this big dream of, you know, you're thinking of this achievement that you wanna get to. You have this big goal, and that's a lot of times is not welcomed by other people. It's like, dude, that's impossible. You'll never be able to do that. You know, that's something other people do, right? Not you. You're just a normal guy, you know? You're just the average dude, right? I love you a lot, you're awesome, but you're never gonna do that. So be more like realistic, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's something. Yeah, that's something that makes me real sad, man. And even though you you trust yourself, you know you're gonna make it. You know, I think this comes from a lack of understanding the process of growth. You know, because this, let's face it, you don't become like an extreme rock star athlete overnight, right? You don't become like a world class artist overnight. There's always like this process of improvement. And I think that anything can be done with enough discipline, time, and effort, you know. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that don't seem to understand this. And I get it. From their perspective, that's impossible. They just don't see it, right? But my question here comes probably related to what you said earlier about comparing yourself to others, you know. How do you stay not motivated, but how do you stay within your course, you know, your track, your journey, without being like bombarded with you know, those words of doubt and stuff like that from people like, dude, this is crazy, you know, I'm not sure you're gonna make it, man, you're crazy. Like that kind of feels unmotivating sometimes, you know. But
it's huge. Yeah. Well, there's this thing with crabs. Yeah. If you have a bucket of crabs, and one of the crabs in the bucket tries to get over the edge, the other crabs will pull that crab down, and that's just what happens. Like, they will not let the other crabs escape.
Crabs in a bucket mentality.
Yeah. Well, and it's the same thing as for humans. You know?
Never heard about that.
Like, and I think us as individuals have done that to other people, and the same way that people do, right? Like, I know I've done that. Like, I've been like, oh, that's impossible. It's like
because they tried and they didn't make it, and they want to prevent you from going through the same failure process or something.
Yeah, or they're just, you know, or they're afraid, or they're embarrassed, or they, you know, they don't want the person that they see as below them to be better than them, right?
Yeah.
And you know, the thing that I like, like, keep a journal. That's really important, you know. And then another thing is to like find friends that want the best for you. You know? Surround yourself with people that actually.
I think that makes a huge difference.
Which is a lot easier said than done. You know, it's like one like, you know, to go from having people that pull you down all the time to nobody. You know, that's like that you're essentially like running into complete chaos. You know, like, what else are you know, like you go from having something to nothing, and sometimes having nothing is a lot worse than having something that's.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about this like a while ago. How, like, for me, instance, I decided to go like the more teaching route than the concept artist route in the studio, and I don't know, I just got like, not backlash, but just like people, you know, seeing me as not really like
shadow banning you.
Not a real concept artist because I want to be a teacher, you know.
Fuck that shit. Yeah, that's the worst. I don't know. It's again, it's like it's part of being a human, you know. In order to like have like if you go to school, right? It's like people are going to tell you to do things. They're going to tell you can't do certain things. It's true to a degree. It's like most people can't become president, you know, a president of the United States. That's just, you know, there's only one every 4 years. It's like, unrealistically, we're going to be one of those people. So I understand it from that perspective. You know, I think you actually have to be pretty. And I mean this in the best possible way. You have to be pretty stupid. You know, you have to be like very headstrong, and you have to like, to believe in your own vision in spite of everybody telling you otherwise. You have to like, you have to be pretty arrogant. You know, it's you have to be confident in yourself in a way that no one else is, which is again a lot easier said than done.
But the thing is that I do like those stories, you know, where that person is successful in that huge goal, you know, that extremely ambitious goal, even though it seemed impossible. Like, it's unrealistic that you can pull that off. When that happens, it's like, holy shit, he made it. You know?
Well, I think it's one of those things where the people that I know that are really successful, they would have been successful. Like, it wasn't luck. I actually firmly believe that. Like, I sat down with Sahil Lavinja. I butchered his last name properly. He's the founder of Gumroad. I talked to him for, like, we hung out at Comic-Con for a few days. After talking to him and really spending time with him, I really firmly believe that he would have been successful at something that weren't Gumroad. Like, at 16, he had sold a few apps for $100,000, and then at 19, he was the second employee at Pinterest, and his stock at Pinterest would have been worth $50 million today, but he left to go start Gumroad. He got $10 million of funding in the first couple of weeks, and now it's Gumroad. You know, like, it's this thing that's
crazy.
Like he's really, but and it's the same thing with Stan. Like, he would have been successful in spite of, like, no matter what, right?
Yeah, I always find those stories extremely inspiring. It's just so interesting to look back, you know, to see how the biggest companies nowadays, the biggest inventions and stuff like that started, you know, like Amazon or Elon Musk. Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that, you know. It's like, he used to do this when he was a kid, you know, and now he's this well-known world-class CEO of this company and this company.
Right. Well, I think the most important thing is to actually define what you really want. You know, to really sit down and answer the question, like, what would you do if you had $1 billion? You know, because I know if Elon Musk had $1 billion, I mean, he's worth $20 billion. But if he had $1 billion when he was young, he would still start Tesla. Or, you know, if you had $1 billion, like, if you really want to be successful, if you want to be like an Elon Musk, but what would you do if you had infinite money? Because you would, like, go, you know, sit around and browse Reddit and play video games. Maybe you actually don't want to be Elon Musk. Because to be one of those guys, it's pretty horrible, actually. Being Elon Musk kind of sucks, seriously. Like, he has like 4 or 5 ex-wives. And they all hate, you know. And I don't mean this. I mean this completely seriously. It's like, to be that successful, you have to sacrifice a lot.
Exactly. The price,
you have to be,
you know.
Yeah, there is a price to it. Like,
I'm getting Thanos vibes here. Cost.
for me, or from, I don't know. There seriously is, like,
yeah.
You know, if you run a company like Tesla or SpaceX or SolarCity or PayPal, you're responsible for a lot of people. You're accepting a lot of responsibility. So if you mess up, then our responsibility is on you, which is a ton of stress, you know. And I actually don't want to be that successful. I want to be able to, like, ride my bike. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to do stuff like this. I want to, like, have the resources to go do projects that I really like, but not so much to where it's
like the pursuit of happiness, almost. Like, I don't know. Well, some people don't really, like, realize it until, I guess, they're knee deep into that success, and, like, it all looks good in the beginning, like how it always is, and then over time, like, when you start really getting into it, it's like, I guess that's why a lot of successful people have, like, suicidal thoughts, or, like, they don't want to like, the stress of, like, the success is a lot, you know.
you
Oh yeah,
know,
yeah.
a lot of
People go crazy,
conflicts
like-
coming out
Yeah.
from that.
Well, and it's part of the reason why child celebrities become so crazy. You know, like the drugs, you know, sex, money, all that kind of stuff.
I recently watched like a documentary about that, like about celebrities crying and stuff over the fact that money was not the answer, right?
And
Like,
it really
they
isn't. I
thought
don't
it
know.
was going to fix problems, but it did not.
More money, more problems. I mean, so
Yeah, dude.
and seriously, like I don't know. It's like if you have $20 million, you can still get cancer. You know, and they're like you can have cancer that's so bad that money can actually not help you. You know? It's like if you spent your entire life getting that money, then what were you doing? You know, like you're wasting your time. You know, it's like the path to success is like I think like if Stan Broco wanted like he would still be doing exactly what he was doing right now, even if he wasn't as big as he is. I still think he'd still be trying to teach. You know? He was authentically following his own path, right? And it just so happened he became successful in spite of that. You know?
Yeah.
You know, I follow Buddhism. I don't consider myself any particular religion, but I think Buddhism, there are a lot of lessons to follow. You know, like being in the moment and pursuing the thing that's actually, you know, like pursuing enlightenment. You know, trying to do things intentionally versus like if you're drawing a picture and you're worried about how many likes it's going to get, then you're already failing at making a picture. You know?
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of lessons you can extract from different religions, even without being religious, you know. A lot of stuff that just simply applies to our daily life stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I talked about this, like, if you're doing it for the likes, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Like, find your message first. Like, try to hone in on what you're trying to tell the people, then, like, focusing just on those numbers. Because those numbers, they just make you feel empty, like, after you get that high of, like, oh, I got this many likes, that dopamine hit, and then it's just gone
then
again.
What? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what's after that? So
I don't know. I'm a big fan of Stan in general because he's been successful, but I can tell he's pretty happy. You know? It's like, he has a wife and kid. You know, he just had a daughter. You know, he shows up to work at 10 and leaves when he feels like. I mean, he's usually there 10 to 6, but if he wants to leave earlier or later, you know, he can because he has
that time
power.
for you.
Yeah, and it's like, you know. He can go hang out with his kid if he wants to, or he can make videos, he can draw if he wants to. You know?
That's like the dream there, is being able to allocate time where you want it, and not like, oh, I have to go do this thing at this time.
Yeah. Well, and none of his validation is tied up in Broco becoming more and more successful.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to do it because he wants to do it, but he also like. I'd imagine he gets more validation out of his kids and his wife rather than his company. Like if you had to choose one or the other,
yeah, there's like, certain priorities.
And that's what I mean by like the people that are going to be successful would have been successful no matter what. It's not luck. It's like they know exactly what they want and they're willing to do anything to sacrifice for it. And you know, it's not like going and becoming an artist to make tons of money to be able to like rub it in people's faces. You know, that's the wrong way to think about it.
Yeah,
which
I think a pretty rare thing nowadays to know exactly what you want. You know,
well,
I see a lot of people struggling with that, like to discover themselves, their true calling and stuff like that. What they really want to do.
I see it a lot.
It's part of the reason I think college is a waste of time, and we should never look at teachers for anything other than objective knowledge.
That's why the stuff I'm doing is like I don't feel it's adding to my my portfolio. I'm already doing my portfolio because I'm passionate about it, but the stuff I'm doing in school is just like, why am I here? You know. Like,
well, I think the thing that like college actually takes something away from you. You know, they like if you're somebody without any direction, it's an okay place to be because it gives you some sort of goal. Like, get this degree by 4 years. You know, do something right. it's better than nothing, right? But I don't know. So it's like actually, never mind. I don't want to diminish anything else, but I don't like when you're at college, you're there and you're living by their rules, which often it's like in art school's rules or perception of reality is actually usually not anywhere close to what it's actually like.
Like,
or they're people that they're people like, so something that I've been thinking about recently is like, if your teachers had $1 billion, do you think they'd still be there to teach you? And if the answer is no, then maybe you're making a mistake. Maybe you're going into hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt that you're paying people that if they had the choice to not be around you, they would choose not to be around you.
And most of them, you're able to tell that by their presence, like they're made for that, right? They were born to teach.
They want to be there.
Exactly.
Yeah, like Marshall Vandrick is one of them.
Most others are like kind of just showing up. They're like they're not. They don't really want to be there. They just want to finish the class as soon as possible and just leave.
And if you're at Art Center, you're paying $3,000 for that class. You're paying $3,000 for that 10 weeks of that person's time to not care about you.
Yeah.
And for what? A degree, like a piece of paper for like you're paying for their stamp of approval.
Yeah.
But if you don't care about their stamp of approval, if you don't like them as a person, then like what are you paying for?
That's what I like a lot from this industry, that they seem to value more the work than that paper that comes from a college or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's way more fair
Value
than
the portfolio.
others. Yeah, exactly. Like, show me your abilities. Like, what are you able to do? I want to see I want to see if you can work on this, right? And then the rest is like more destined for visa and stuff like that, I think, for working overseas and stuff like that. I'm talking about the diplomas and stuff you get from studies that, degrees and stuff like that. That's all I know about this, I was really happy when I saw that, that the portfolio is like 90% of your possibilities of getting hired and stuff like that, rather than where are you coming from? Where did you study? Let me see where you had your studies done.
Yeah. Well, and if the company can guarantee they'll make money off you, then they'll, if you can be a net positive, then they will hire you.
I think I've heard something like a big company hiring an artist that wasn't even speaking in the same language, and they hired an additional translator to kind of do the communication thing and stuff like that in-house, right? Just because he was so good, and they just didn't want to let him pass. Yeah, exactly. They wanted him. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's like again, like the idea of going to college, like, sure, if you have nothing else better to do, that's fine. But you're giving up part of who you are in order to fit into their mold. And it's like better than nothing. But if you have confidence that your version of yourself is good enough, then if you want to make concept art, there are millions of people that want to make concept art too. You could fit into that club pretty easily. If you want to animate, if you want to illustrate magic cards, if you want to do any of that kind of stuff, there are ways of you doing it that don't require a college degree. Like you could. I was talking to a friend and he was telling me it's like if you really want to be a concept artist, if you really want to be a concept artist tomorrow too, you could get a job by contacting any indie game studio on Steam and telling them you'll work for free for a couple months. And you could build up your resume that way. And it's free. You get to probably learn from people that are in the industry, and you're actually building your resume versus, if you do that for 4 years, you're going to have a resume of jobs that on games that are probably shipped versus if you're at LCAT or Art Center or any of the art schools, you're going to have a piece of paper from people that have never worked on games.
That's pretty true, yeah. Like art school. I mean, I've already like said a lot about the cons about art school, but yeah, it's like a lot of teachers who don't have. I mean, they have industry experience, but the real industry experience comes from the people who are releasing the products, releasing the games, and like that's the people you do want to work with because it's currently in development, and like what you're doing in school is like not in development.
Well,
It's part of the curriculum, you know. It's not like going anywhere.
Well, and it's like the curriculum's probably outdated, and like even if you go to a school like Brainstorm or Watts Atelier, like I was around people who they'd been concept artists for 30 years, and like they had good careers too, and they were just in my classes with me. You know? Versus if you're at an art school, you're with other students. You know?
Who are not even in history.
yeah, which you know that's totally fine. But it's like if your goal is to become successful in that industry, there are definitely more efficient ways to do it than going to private art school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how that's like so logical. Like what you said about like working for free for a couple months on any, you know, studio from Steam, and then you can, that's like your start, you know, and everything escalates from there on. But it's like that's what most people find interesting as a theory, right? But then in the practice, it's like, nah, you know.
Well, you have to
sounds
be like
good, but nah.
You have to be like an interesting. You have to be like not. You have to be not like. You have to be a fun person to be around. You have to be, like, you can't be socially awkward. You can't be, you know. You have to be confident in yourself. You have to be confident in yourself, not just as an artist, but as like a person, right? Which is like that's the way it works in real life. Is like you have to be able to be around people if you want to work around people, making things for other people, right? Like you can't.
It's hard to network when you're just in the, you know, a wallflower in the background.
Yeah, which is
you gotta like put yourself out there and really like, you know, communicate with
which is hard.
Dudes, I got a question. Like we've been saying this for the entire podcast, but what would you do with unlimited money? Like what would be your idea? Like what would be your ideal lifestyle? Would you still be doing this? Do you have other kind of plans? Unlimited money, remember.
So I'm gonna buy a van. I'm gonna live in the van. I'm gonna buy a cargo van.
It's better to sleep in, right?
Yeah. No, Sam, seriously, I'm gonna do that, and I would be doing that if I had $1 billion.
Nice.
I'm also gonna try and move to Medellin, Colombia, for a little while too.
Say Colombia.
Nice.
Yeah. South America. I would travel. That's probably what I would do. Buy a van and travel.
Nice.
I think traveling is like the best spiritual food you can get, you know, for your soul.
Yeah.
It's the best way to learn and grow. And dude, there's something to just being in other places and visiting other, you know, physical places, not like surfing the internet, browsing Google Images and or Google Maps. You know, it's like being there. There's something, you know, that can be perceived in a different way that you cannot get when you're simply looking at a photo or a video. Or it's cool, you know, to watch documentaries about natural landscapes and stuff like that, but there's nothing like being there in person and feeling it, you know. There's something to the scale, to the mood, to the atmosphere that can be really translated in a video or a picture. And I think what you just said, it's like much respect, man. I'm happy for you, man.
If you guys want to visit me in Colombia, you're totally welcome to. Do you want to know how much an apartment in Medellin costs?
How much is it?
It's like $200 a month USD.
What?
Yeah.
$200 a month?
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's nuts.
And
I was
you're
talking to Taylor all of this actually.
So,
about-
it's not that far off of what the costs in here. So come to Brazil as well.
Oh yeah, I was gonna go
Definitely.
to Sao Paulo actually at some point.
Dude, if you ever come here, let me know. Honestly, I would love to
Where,
meet you in
where,
person.
where in Brazil are you?
I live an hour away from São Paulo.
Oh, okay. I have a friend who's a concept artist in Sao Paulo. You actually might know him. I guess his I only know him online.
His name is Andre.
He's
Dude, and you're gonna go with your van
No, I'm
to
gonna
visit Andre? Because that would be so cool, to travel
You
the
can
world
get a
with
van down
your
here as
van.
well.
Yeah, that'd be so fun.
Imagine.
Take the plane and buy a van in here.
Imagine
It's
that.
free.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to Taylor all of this about going, like, getting as many people as possible to rent a 6-bedroom house in Medellin, which would be like $1,500 a month. It's split between 6 people. It's super cheap.
Yeah.
If you guys want to join for as long as you'd like to, you're totally welcome to.
Thanks for the invitation, man.
But I
Thank
Soon
you.
enough, it will be like a 15 dorms house,
a mansion.
It's gonna be sick,
But
man.
you asked about like the infinite money question, right?
Hmm.
Look, this whole conversation has been like very different for me than the other podcasts. I stayed way more like quiet than usual. But to think about success in the way that you guys were talking about and the actual value of our work, like
Yeah.
it's so different. And the answer remains the same, I would probably be doing very similar things from what I do now. But I'm out of words, Like I just want to say this. It's been so disrupting to think like very logically about our art as business and as having a proper value, because I have this tendency to devalue my own artwork, even if it's produced for like actual companies, right?
Mhm.
And devalue my personal work.
But is it
And
that
it's so much
because
food for thought.
you tend to believe that you can always do better? Or something like
I have
that?
no idea, man. I'm still thinking about it and figuring it out. Because
All right.
it's like this dude came in
I think
here
we all
and
have
talks
that.
very simply about like, hey, yeah, this is like this. Think about like, like maybe just think differently a little bit.
Yeah.
And there are so many thoughts that I thought I had before, but when they're presented by someone else, it seems like they never crossed my mind really. They're just like on surface level, but never got deep into. And it's funny that like we circle way back around to the initial question, and the answer is still the same. But it's like you went through a whole lot to get there. Make sense? Like,
Yeah, I love it when that happens, by the way. Like when you tend to have these surface level thoughts, right? And whenever someone brings that up but kind of gets deeper into it, you're like, this is like a great opportunity for me to learn more and explore this
and
subject.
it seems like your whole world is different,
Yeah.
like the way that you look at
It's a strange
things.
feeling. But I get it. I know.
Definitely is like
Perspective. Yeah. It's definitely a new way of looking at things.
Yeah, like if you watch this podcast, look at my face, you'll see someone like changing their mind every 5 seconds, because it's conflicting like inside of
Yeah.
But anyways, I would probably get like a beast PC and be drawing and getting like 2 vacations a year and traveling to different places.
And
To me, it's way more about the people, like when
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
travel, the people that you see.
Yeah. Well, part of the question is like of course, like I'd buy a Ferrari. I'd buy some like crazy shit. I'd buy like a giant mansion. I'd buy like a lion.
Yeah.
I would do like some. I'd buy a Zeppelin instead of a van. I'd have a Zeppelin that I'd take all around the world.
Some temporary
but-
whims.
But it's like money gets boring. It's like having everything that you want handed to you. It immediately loses its value.
It's almost like playing a game with cheats enabled.
Exactly right.
It's like there's no challenge.
It's like imagine you have every original piece of art that you've ever wanted in your entire life,
and it
it's
takes
like-
nothing for you to get it. You already have it.
Yeah, and it's like, but you have 1,000 pieces of art that you really admire, and that they just sit inside your house somewhere that you can't even look at because there's 1,000.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
like maxing out on Skyrim and
It's
then
physically difficult now.
Yeah. And it's like, what are you doing at that point? You're just like hoarding art for other people not to see. You know,
yeah.
it's almost like like you're actually detracting from everybody else.
Mm.
You know, it's like I was reading this book called Man's Search for Meaning, and in the book, so the history of it is it's written by a guy named Viktor Frankl, who was a Holocaust survivor, and he was describing his experiences at a concentration camp. And it's similar to the $1 billion question, where it's like, what if you had nothing right now? Like you lose your apartment, you know, they take away your name, they take away your family. It's like, what do you still do? You know?
Whoa,
Like-
that's an interesting turning point, actually. Like you just
Well, it's like-
reverse the question. You
Yeah,
pull,
yeah,
like
yeah.
the most epic Uno card, you know, ever.
Well, it's like, do you still draw? You know, and the answer might be no. You know, it's like,
hmm
you know, there are things in your life that you need in order to, like, you need a sketchbook, you need paper, you need a computer. It's like you still
Yeah.
create.
Because then it gets everything gets all about like survivability, I guess. You know,
Well, and you learn that there are conditions to.
if you
your
have
art.
nothing, you still have to to think about
Yeah.
other basic stuff, you know, before you think about the you know things like
Even thinking about
drawing and
creating,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like
And
I gotta stay
you learn
alive
that-
first, and then we can draw.
Right. Well, and it's like art. I think the four of us would say that art has been incredibly important to our life. It's one of the most important things in our lives, right?
hmm
But there are conditions to it being a part of our lives, which is like food, water, having a place to sleep, and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
it's like, I think, you know, the quality of art really is based on how much, like, is somebody willing to suffer for their art, you know? And like, we obviously don't have $1 billion, right? I know I don't. I don't know about you guys. In the book, Viktor Frankl was talking about like, be worthy of your suffering. You know, be worthy of the thing. Like, if your life is hard right now, you know, be worthy of that. You know, it's like a in the hero's journey, you're being like, there are challenges being put in front of you that, you know, it's like they're your challenges and you have to figure them out. You know,
Yeah.
and
Do you guys know David Goggins?
yeah, of course.
He's been a huge inspiration for me. I
Guy's
like a lot. Yeah.
Stay hard, man.
I like his approach to that kind of mindset. I know. That,
Yeah.
It's really inspiring. And
Yeah, well,
motivating.
it's
Extremely
like-
motivating.
We're suffering more than somebody that has $1 billion, right?
Mhm.
Like in terms of like, you know,
Lifestyle.
yeah,
like-
yeah.
Yeah. Making
And it's like, it's worth that suffering in order to create the stuff that you want to make, right?
yeah. It's more of a
and-
feeling.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. About the suffering thing. Because I think we are all pretty unique. Like all the paths are different. For instance, to me right now, I feel pretty successful at this moment simply by being able to talk to people and making stuff like this very podcast episode that we're recording right now, and then being in touch with other people and feeling inspired by them, and also getting messages about me inspiring them, which is extremely rewarding. But I really feel successful by simply being able to work on my own universe and stuff like that, you know, my own projects. And it's, let's say success is not entirely reflected by money, right? How much money you make, but something that has, I think there's a common factor with money, which is value, right? Money tends to have some value, right? Depending on what currency we're talking about, or, you know, and so the same thing with projects, or I don't know, I'm kind of lost here, but any other thing that might have value to the public, you know, to an audience,
Yeah.
because in the end, that's what they end up paying for, you know, either with their money, with their time, which is the case of YouTube. You're just giving your attention and your time to other creators, and then they end up making money off of that. And at the same time, the YouTube corporation, Google corporation, end up making money off of that. So I don't know. I think it's pretty relative, the suffering thing. But I understand, and I really understand what you're where you come from on that question. We tend to associate having a lot of money to less pain and less suffering, right? Well, I think it's pretty clear at a physical, materialistic level, because they don't lack those things we tend to want a lot, like that car, that house, that nice whatever it is, you know. But then the same thing we were talking about the celebrities earlier in the podcast, you know, like maybe on the inside they're not so well. So I don't know. I think, yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question, man. Yeah, I saw Andre kind of making like this kind of face expression when you said that about the you know, billionaires suffer less than us, and I think he might agree with what I said.
Well,
balance.
They suffer less than us in a certain sense.
This is where he says,
yeah,
"I wasn't really
understand,
listening."
No, man, like I'm taking it in. It's a lot to think through, but I understand where you're coming from. You know, like in the sense of suffer less, it's because it seems like a lot of our suffering is things that we are unable to achieve due to the money factor, right? As an example, your dream trip, like it's not something that you can do right now, I assume, because like you need the money, or because you have to work in order to get it first, or something like that.
It's COVID.
And yeah, also that's that thing, right? But there is some inner suffering that never leaves us. And I guess that's what makes like Elon Musk do what he does now and never stop working, because he's not satisfied yet, and he has all the money in the world to do what, like, if he never wanted to work again, he could, but I think that he will not be at peace. So that suffering will never leave. But I'm assuming that when you're talking, you're not really talking about that kind of thing. We're talking about more like objective things.
Yeah, I'm talking about like if you had to get a kidney transplant tomorrow, that's expensive, right? You know, I'm talking about that kind of suffering.
Yeah, I understand.
Right.
It's not like less suffering in like the deep sense, right? It's like a humanistic kind of way or psychological kind of way. It's more like real world.
Right.
Yeah,
we're more. I guess I shouldn't have said suffering. I should have said more vulnerable. You know, like a billionaire is less vulnerable than us.
Yeah.
Right? It's like they can, you know, buy any
we're
house
like
they want with cash,
low level geared characters, you know, in an RPG game that can be really well designed characters, true to their story, with interesting stories and that stuff, but they don't have that 100 level gear that other players have, you know, out there.
Yeah, but they only bought the level gear because of the splash art that the guy did. Remember that?
Right. It's all for the aesthetics, you know. It's not functional. No, in this case, I think it is really functional.
Well, a guy like Elon Musk, his problem is he doesn't care about money. He cares about getting us off this planet. You know, it's actually like he's deeply
it's like when you're driven by your vision.
Right? Yeah, exactly. He's driven by it, and it's the same thing with Steve Jobs. Like, and it's part of the reason why they're so difficult to work for, guys like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, because their vision is so strong that they're willing to sacrifice and do anything in order to achieve that vision. You know?
Right.
It's kind of like a
all or nothing.
Well, it's kind of like being that's part of the thing I was saying about success earlier too. Is like, you have to have such a strong vision that you're willing to do anything to get that vision. You know, it's part of the reason why I don't really want to be that successful. You have to sacrifice everything. Like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, all those guys, they had miserable lives.
Yeah, maybe not like that level of success, but just maybe 1/8 of it, or maybe even smaller.
1/2% would be pretty nice. Yeah, it's still a lot of money. But
not like that much. Maybe too much.
It's still like a
people tend to have pretty divided opinions on that as well.
I really admire Elon Musk. I really do.
yeah, there's a lot of people who admire him and a lot of people who hate him. I'm not sure because he's not doing what they expected him to do, or because they just simply don't see that as something useful, you know. But I'm on your side. I respect what he's doing a lot. Not necessarily because of what the particular case is, right? But because of it's just simply the story, man. I think there's nothing out there that inspires me more than hearing other people's stories, you know, and how they overcame obstacles, and how they went through tough times and struggles, and now they're doing fine, you know. And I think that has like this level of relatability, even though it's like clearly just very discompensated, or I don't know, I'm not sure how to say that, but it's like at a different level, you know, but it has that certain relatability to it. Just the same way David Goggins talks about his stuff, you know, you kind of extract that, and like you're able to see it in your own hero's journey, you know. I think it's always the same structure. It's just different skins, if you want to put it that way.
Well, I think a guy like Elon Musk and Vincent Van Gogh are actually pretty similar. Like, Vincent Van Gogh was still painting, like, he was painting in spite of no one caring, you know, which I think that's the true artist. Like, if you guys knew that, like, and I'm not asking you to answer this right now, but if you knew that no one would care about your artwork, would you still do it? You know, it's a really complicated question to ask yourself. And for Vincent Van Gogh, no one cared, but he still painted, you know. And that's something I really admire.
Then he died, and everybody wanted his work.
He killed himself. Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's suffering. That's really like, that's impressive. Like, to create in spite, create for other people in spite of them not caring, and to see so much value in the stuff that you're doing, to still keep doing it. You know? I mean, he was obviously a troubled person, but still, you know, there's a reason why his stuff is so. And there are plenty of people like Vincent Van Gogh that aren't really famous. And I admire them too. It's just like, those kind of people were doing it completely for themselves. You know, they weren't expecting fame or money or anything. I get the impression that Elon Musk is like that to a certain degree as well.
Yeah,
I went through that same experience. You know, like, working on the book, like, I didn't care if people liked it or not. Like, I just wanted this to come to life, like, at all costs. Because I wanted, like, all my life to at least, like, try making a book. Like, that was not something that I wanted or expected to do, and like, I didn't care. I didn't care if, like, people didn't follow it. Like, I just wanted to make this thing, like, come to life. That's what I think was relating to what you're saying. It's like, you know, having that vision come true. And
This one is a deep one, guys, honestly.
Yeah, dude, we've talked about so many things. I don't even know what to say. I'm still like absorbing all the concepts we've been discussing.
Everything that I really firmly believe is that life is actually pretty simple. It's incredibly complicated, but also really simple. Like, the thing that you should do is what you want, you know, as long as it doesn't hurt other people. You know, I think there's like a couple of fundamental truths, and it's like, don't lie. I think don't lie and be honest is the most important thing you can do. You know,
I can't believe you just described what I think as well, like word by word. Like, I believe you should be doing whatever you want, as long as you don't harm other people. You know.
Yeah.
That's the essence of. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love that you said that.
It's something that's, I feel like, it's not too out there. You know, people tend to hide what they really think, and I think that's really harmful to the whole society, because it seems like you don't actually get a good thing out of either lying or hiding things. You know.
Well, and lying is pretty tempting too. Yeah.
I think it's an easy path, right? No
I think
conflict.
Everybody lies.
Yeah. I'm not saying like I never, you know, like it would be stupid to say or that I never did or anything like that. But trying as best as you can to tell as much truth as you can. I think it's
yeah,
a
I
good
think
thing
there's a
to
strategic
strive for.
thing to hiding things or lying about stuff as well, which is why I'm so bad at it because I can't hide stuff. I'm like always talking about, whatever happens, and I don't try to make stuff up or anything like that. I find it pretty difficult, because you have to remember extra stuff, and it makes you more prone to messing up somewhere because you just said that it was, and now you're saying that, it's like you can easily make up different stories and confuse them later. So I think the easiest path and the most pure path as well is to just be true to yourself and speak the truth. And yeah, I think it's pretty simple, but pretty deep as well.
It's really hard. I lie all the time. It's incredibly complicated. Like, I think it's hard not to. Like,
I think lying. When I said it was easy, I meant in a way that like you avoid conflict by doing that.
yeah.
Right.
Well,
okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, so let's say like hypothetically you become a teacher, right? And your mentorships are $50,000 each, per year. Somebody will pay $50,000 to spend time with them, and you get students that don't for you based on your current knowledge, you think that they're not going to be able to make it. Like, you firmly believe that. And when they ask you, like, what do you say? It's like, you're getting $50,000. Do you tell the truth, or do you lie to them and tell them that they're going to make it in order to get their money? And it's like, it's like, seriously, it's like, I think the true thing is to tell them what you believe is true, which is painful. That's a tough conversation to have with people.
I mean, sometimes truth can get you into a lot of trouble, for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
But I guess like if you are truthful with the person in that sense, maybe they will want your mentorship way more because now they know
They'll
that they can trust you
appreciate
to
it.
tell them what they need to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not saying like deny them the opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
but just be truthful to them. Say, hey, of course, this whole hypothetical situation. So maybe in real life it would be different. But in an ideal situation, you probably could tell the person the truth. And because they sought you for knowledge, when they were ready for it, they will come back,
They'll understand,
And
they'll process it, and they'll come
you
back
can
and
only
say,
hope that
I
people
understand
will
it now.
do what you expect to be right. But you are only responsible for what you do and not what they do as well. So,
Well, I think sometimes life isn't that clean. It's like, what if they go and start saying bad things about you and they start defaming your name? It's like, you still stand by your word. It's like, sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes the answer is complicated. Sometimes you have a wife and kids, and that's your only source of income. At what point is like going against your word worth it to? Right, like, something that I really firmly believe is that everybody has the capacity to become like a Nazi camp concentration guard. Like, everybody can, like, it's like, and I mean this completely seriously. Like, if somebody killed your family, what would be justified? Like, what would you be able to justify doing to that person? Right?
yeah. That's
like,
actually a thought experiment that I've been trying to put myself into as well. Like, what would it take for me to become someone other than myself?
And
or
the
someone
answer is, it's really not that much. It's like there's this book called Ordinary Men. It's about Polish police officers that were taken by the Nazis and put in concentration camps, and they went from being normal police officers to being men that would go and take naked pregnant women and shoot them in the back of the head. And it's like, there was a set of things that happened that were horrible on both sides that allowed those normal people to become these horrible, Nazi prison guards. And you could say that's like, oh, maybe that's just an isolated case. They were already horrible, whatever. But that's not true. It's like that. You could take tons of examples of normal people just like us that then became like that. And like, I could think of several things that, I could think of a potential path that I could, walk down if things were truly horrible, that I could potentially become somebody like that. I think that's the first step to being able to tell the truth, is being able to recognize, like, like you telling that lie to that kid to get that money. It's like where that path goes. Maybe you become one of those Christian preachers that are asking poor families to give up their paycheck so you can have a private jet. It's like that's ethically not okay, but they've gotten to that point where lying is so easy for them that that's just what they believe.
Mm-hmm.
They become indoctrinated into their own lying.
Do you guys think we tend to run away from conflict?
I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I do all the time.
It's hard to face.
I've been told by some friends that I'm like way too chill. I'm like always avoiding conflict. Like if I'm afraid of getting into an argument or something like that, But I think that I usually do that because I see no value in. There's nothing I can take away from that argument. There's nothing that it's going to improve my situation any further. So let's say I think we all tend to engage in conflicts, right? If they are meaningful to us, like if we see the point, then we go for it, even though it's unpleasant, right?
Yeah.
But if it's like a pointless conversation or argument or fight, it's like, yeah, whatever, you win, right? I don't even care about it.
I don't know if I agree with you. Yeah,
I saw your face. Go ahead. Come on.
Man, I guess the way that you grow, like as a person, is by facing things that you are not necessarily aligned with, because then like they'll show you something that you don't necessarily know, or a way of seeing the world that is not yours. So in order for me to consider like an argument something pointless, dude, it would take a lot, like it would take a very different situation, because usually I'm the kind of person that would pursue the argument up until the other person don't want it anymore, because I'm trying to understand how they think, right? That's why sometimes I ask questions that are maybe not comfortable for people to answer, but that's just because I'm trying to figure out what they think. And physical confrontation, I guess, like it's always avoidable. I don't think there's a reason for that nowadays, unless it's a life or death situation or something like that. You're putting a risk by someone else that like they don't have anything to lose. Yeah, that's a situation where like it would be possible to have physical confrontation. But
I guess what I was talking about was to spend your energy onto something that is no.
But it's no benefit. It's not pointless, man. That's the point that I'm making. It's
like,
not
let's
pointless.
say you say something
in the sense.
Let's say you say something about something that I admire, right? Something that I'm really into, and you make like a comment on that, like a completely innocent comment, like even without really wanting it, and you get me started on this conversation now, and I'm like talking back to you like, hey, why did you say that? Like I think that's like this way or this way because and then you're like, oh shit, here we go. Okay, I don't even know what you're talking about, right? I just said that thing without even thinking. So yeah, whatever you say, it's fine. Rather than just trying to fight me over something that you don't even care about. That's what I'm talking about, I would rather just dodge that kind of situation and say, yeah, whatever. I don't even care about it. So, it.
I wouldn't, man. I'm sorry. I would.
No, well, I think it's an incredibly complex situation because the thing I was mentioning about your capacity to be a not to camper, it's more so less. It's to be able to understand other people, because the reality of that is that people actually have malicious intent, and somebody might be saying something to you, trying to start a fight with the intention of starting a fight with you, not to actually, they actually want to hurt you,
Yeah.
Like I've met people, like I don't know if you guys were paying to the U.S. election, but on both sides, they're like, you can't mention that you voted for either side in certain parts of the country. Like if you say you voted for Donald Trump in New York City, people will judge you for that, and people will come up to you and ask you who you voted for not with the intention of actually having a political discussion with you to get your opinion. It's to see if you're on their side or not. You know?
Yeah.
And the thing about avoiding confrontation is, like, that's actually sometimes the bravest thing to do, because, you know, you're choosing not to engage with them. You're choosing not to. You're not letting them trap you. You know, like if I asked you guys, like, did you vote for Donald Trump? And the answer is yes. People might criticize you for that. They might actually publicly execute you for that. I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but, you know, it's like, I met people that if you voted for Joe Biden, it's the same thing. And it's that polarizing, like, black and white morality that's where people get in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
there. I don't think there is actually any justification for conflict, because if somebody gets into a fight with you while you're talking, then the thing actually wasn't about that. Like it could be like your preference over like chicken nuggets or hamburgers. You know,
Yeah.
Somebody could like beat you up because you like chicken nuggets more than hamburgers, and it's happened at like, I mean, it's happened with sporting events. Like if you like the Patriots and not the Jets, people have gotten fights, and I would bet money people have been killed over their sports teams. You know, and at that point, it's not about the sports teams; it's about like primate monkey stuff going on. You know? Yeah, it's like that person's different from me. You know?
Yeah.
Hey, like, have you guys
right.
ever seen the Rick and Morty episode when it's like the cone nipples versus the circle nipples? You know?
I haven't seen it.
And it's like it was a joke because they got into a race war because of the different nipple shapes.
So is it the same with being in the middle? Like, I don't care about either sides, you know.
No, it's not about being. It's about how, like, John McCain can sit down with Barack Obama and they can have a discussion, right? Even though they're on different sides of the aisle politically, it's like, I could sit down with certain Trump supporters and have a talk about why they voted for Donald Trump and not get mad at them for voting for Donald Trump. You know?
Yeah.
It's like they're like seeing people as other people with their own perspective. You know, like
yeah. Not specifically, not specifically talking about politics, but anything really that has two sides.
Like politics is just
what?
easy.
You're neither on side A or B? Like, who do you think you are? You have to side with some of them, you know, either A or B, but make your choice. You can't stay in the middle. And you're like just staying there like, dude, I just don't care about this. You know, I'm onto something else. Yeah. So what takes my attention on this is the fact that they get mad at you because you're not interested in that thing. You know, you're not choosing any side there.
Well, I've seen it happen at art schools where it's like you choose like the atelier system where you learn how to draw academically, or you choose like the concept art system where you go to brainstorm and art center. Whatever. It's like,
do they really like
people
see that? Like, the atelier?
Well, I mean, there are people that like look at one as worse than the other on both sides, and it's like I think the real winners are people that look at both and like, oh, I could learn something from the atelier system and the
that's
the
why
concept art system.
I'm really on to that notion that you shouldn't put one art form like higher than another. It's like, what's the point of that? It's like,
well, you can really learn something from everybody, and the real winners. It's like, you know, it's like when you win an argument with somebody about like, I don't know, it's like you're not really like no one's gaining anything. You know, it's like you're actually the only thing that's happening is you're detracting from the other person. You're saying that person's opinion isn't valid, and you're actually detracting from everybody else because you're refusing to learn the lessons that they could teach you, and vice versa.
Yeah.
That's why I said like avoid like physical confrontation, but maybe be up to get into an argument with someone else. Yeah. And it doesn't need to be heated, you know. Like if it escalates to that point, I think it loses a lot of the meaning of it, because
that's
then
what I was
going to
say.
More and more extreme, right?
It's like an art in itself, you know, to be able to pull and release and know how to do it and when.
You're part of that argument. You also control how escalated it gets. You know, like you also have a point in that. I'm sorry, I started speaking Portuguese because like
it's okay.
The thing is, like, if you get a you start an argument with someone else. Let's say like the example that you gave me. You know, like, oh, I comment something, and then like you start really heated, passionate
Yeah.
about it.
Look, the thing about the
My
burger
point
and
would
the
be to
nuggets
try
that
to-
he mentioned.
Yeah, but
You
my
know,
point would be to, like,
some
try
stupid
as
thing,
best as I
like
can
an example
to
like that.
extract information from you. You know,
Hmm.
because and it might be selfish, and maybe it is, but I don't really care. It's like I'm not in that argument for you or for trying to convince you.
I
I'm
think
not in that
everybody's
argument.
selfish. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in that argument, or in basically anyone that I get, try to make myself a better person and to try to understand as much other people as I can.
All right,
Yeah.
then I
Because then
was
I have
talking
to be
about those kind of arguments where the other side is trying to convince me
Yeah,
to join
but-
their side, you know?
That's something I feel like social media is doing this. You know, I saw a post the other day that I really thought it was pointless because a guy posted I don't know, a car design of a company that just released or something like that,
Mhm.
and there were like those binary options, you know, that people put yes or
Oh,
no,
right.
and
Yeah.
he put like I love it or hate it, and I was like, what the hell, man? Like, do you think that design is something that you can just like, oh, I love this design to that and everything is perfect, or I hate it and I don't want to see it in front of my face? Where is the
Yeah.
discussion? You know, where is you thinking through of it like rationally and saying, hey, maybe this could be better, but like this, he got this point perfect, but like that side we don't is not perfect. Where is the nuance? You know?
Yeah.
I somewhat feel like they do that to get that engagement rate going up, you know?
Well,
It's-
they want people to be on, like they want the polarization. You know, they want
Mhm.
people like the more people talk about it, the more they win. You know, like
Yeah.
any form of publicity is good publicity. Like if you get a lot of hate online, but that hate gets 10 million views, you're winning. You know, it's like
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
there's
but,
a
like,
reason why people
someone
do outrageous things online. Sorry.
that's
You cut
someone
out.
that like I graduated in advertising, right, and marketing.
Yeah.
That sucks, man, because that makes like people that really care about marketing, which is putting like good products in the hand of the people that need them. Like
Yeah.
it makes us all look bad, as if like it was just a money thing. And
Well, that's the reality of living in this. People are willing to, you know, like a lot of it is about money. You know?
yeah,
Like Star Wars wouldn't exist if it didn't make money. You know? Part
Yeah.
of the part of the reality of all this stuff is like that there's like a price to capitalism. Like even just like if you work on a game, right, and you design a cool character, and then that character is put on T-shirts. Those T-shirts are probably made in China using labor that is they're being paid $1 a day at that. You know, they're being taken complete advantage of. Or, like even if you like, I'm not diminishing. Like I don't think you probably know the people that printed your book, Dom. Like the people that actually physically put it together, right? And I think it's like I'm not like I'm a capitalist. Like I think that like I'm gonna do more stuff like that in the future. I'm gonna print books. I'm gonna make stuff, but
Free market.
yeah, well, it's like I'm gonna take advantage of Chinese labor, probably. You know, I think that's an important, like that's a truth that we were talking about. That's like a hard truth to acknowledge is that just by participating in this stuff, participating in something that's actually questionably moral, you know, it's questionable. You know, it's morally gray. It's like,
Yeah.
That's deep.
It's very complicated. It's like
Yeah.
I think it's very good that you made your book, Dom. But you know, it's like if you like, I don't know how many. Like, did you get like 2,000 printed or 1,000 or 500?
I don't know the exact estimate, but it was like.
He hired an entire factory.
Yeah.
Well, luckily the company was here, but I don't exactly know
Okay. Yeah.
the products coming from if it's
Yeah, yeah.
internationally. But yeah,
Well, it's always like I don't know. I think we all own iPhones, you know, or smartphones. We all own like no matter like you can track the things that you own, the things that you bought to some kind of questionable source. Like you know, it's hard for everything that you do as a member of society to be completely ethically okay. And I'm not diminished. Like I'm still going to be a capitalist. I'm not going to really give up that much relative in order to feel okay with everything. All this stuff all this stuff has like a kind of a shady money element to it. Not completely black or white, good or bad. There's definitely moral gray area with all of it.
This is the nature that everything in the world is subject to, money.
Yeah.
It's what we base the value of everything on. Everything's worth something, in a monetarily speaking.
Right, and somewhere along the line, it's like there's somebody that probably said that it's worth having the money. They would rather dominate people if they get the money. Like did you guys ever? Do you guys remember that guy named Martin Shkreli? He was that guy that bought the AIDS medication, and he marked it up like 1,000% or something.
No.
There was this guy in the 2010s who, his name is Martin Shkreli, and he bought this company, and then he took the AIDS medication, which was cheap for decades, and he marked it up like 1,000% because he was the only person that was making it. And he got all this horrible, it was like, and he could legally do that, but people were angry at him, and he ended up, selling his company because people hated him so much. But it's like that's the kind of like, he's a bad person, but that's what our entire economy is based off of. Like maybe it's not that bad, but there is like a version of that maybe we're participating in to a certain degree. Like meat consumption, it's ethically questionable.
Yeah, those were the early days of cancel culture.
Yeah.
Nah, just kidding. Yeah.
Well,
dude, we've surpassed like 2 hours now. This is the longest episode we've ever done.
Yeah. Oh man,
this was crazy, dude.
That was a wild talk.
Oh yeah.
But so much knowledge and information like we can get. I don't think we should really censor anything out.
No, everything's fine.
I will listen to this one again. No.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
man, you're a pretty well articulated guy. You're really eloquent.
It's nice having you on again, Christian.
Yeah,
Thanks for
it was really nice to talk to you. Thank you a lot for the insights on every single little topic that we touched. And
absolutely.
Yeah, I hope you come back another time, perhaps.
Yeah, sure thing. Absolutely. Yeah, it was fun talking to you guys.
That would be awesome.
Open up a new perspective, maybe, to certain people. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's certainly for me.
Sorry? What did you say?
It was certainly like brought on the table for me. Like incredibly insightful and knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Before you go, can you tell people where they can find you online?
My Instagram, it's Christian's Knees. It's KRISTIAN KNEES, and then my website is Christian Knee, KRISTIAN NEE. And then I'm going to be on the Draftsman podcast with Marshall sometime in the next couple months.
That's awesome. So good luck.
See you on there, dude.
Wait.
Nice.
And then those are my social media things.
I really recommend you guys to check out his website. It's really cool.
Yeah, I saw it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really nice. So, well, Dom, if you want to do the outro.
Yeah.
This is time.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching this podcast. Christian, thank you again for coming on and talking with us. And with that being said, leave a comment, tell us what you think, share around with other people if you think it's insightful to them, and subscribe, like all our pages, whatever you want to do. And we will see you on the next podcast. Yeah.
See ya, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.